your two characters, it really feels like they've changed each other through their kind of interactions.
Definitely. Yeah, and we were just saying, you answered the question beautifully, right? I mean, really beautiful. Get ready for one of the best answers you're ever going to hear. I know. Go ahead, Will. Take it.
All I was saying was that I think that Tom has taken on a bit more armor and become a little more of a soldier and a warrior, and Weaver has begun to become a little more open. It's like cracks in his facade that are beginning to, where he can be a little fatherly, be a little, work from his heart a little bit, go back and forth, with the mother and the father. I'm not always a father, you're not always a mother.
Not always a mother.
The odd couple.
Exactly.
The odd couple.
It is the odd couple.
But I think you guys do a great job of bouncing off each other, and I think the writers do an exceptional job of putting you two at opposite ends of the spectrum and letting the strengths in acting kind of carry out how that scene's going to play. And I think I noticed early on that was how it worked. So it told me that they did the right job by casting each other. I think it's only gotten better.
It may have been a little more accidental in the beginning, but now it's something that we know anchors the show. When you get these two characters alone in the room and they're able to sort of stand on opposite sides of an ethical divide and hash it out, it gives a nice kind of anchor to it. If you do it every other episode, it seems to make a nice rhythm for the touchdown.
You are the father of a newborn little girl. How does the entrance of the little girl affect Tom?
The entrance of the little girl is actually...
Yeah, I mean, how does having a girl fit into this instead of having a girl?
Well, that was the big question last season was, is this the world you want to bring a child into? Or do we have a choice in the matter if we want to survive as a species? This is what we have to do. And ultimately, I think her arrival was one of the very few moments that these characters get to celebrate. A new baby is always a celebration. In this particular world, it's monumental. And I think it, in a lot of ways, allowed Ann Glass and Tom Mason to truly bury their pasts and to make a commitment to building a future with each other. They both carry a lot of skeletons around them. Luna and I both felt very strongly that before that relationship could be consummated, we needed to have a metaphorical funeral for the things that we'd lost already. Otherwise, we were giving short shrift to our backstories. So I'm very pleased at the way that sort of played itself out. And the birth really is the culmination. Actually, the odyssey to go and retrieve them from captivity has been the culmination tonight. That really shows to the extent that they've become a very important part of Tom's life, is the tenacity with which he's going after them. Throwing off the presidency, walking out of Charleston, nothing is as important as family, and he's going to keep his alive and intact.
With 3 seasons down and a 4th on the way, how do you feel Falling Skies has kind of evolved from day one?
I'm not sure about that. I wasn't even supposed to be around. But he tested really well. I think it's one of the few times in television where a show gets better every season. Like, I think the first year we had a very good concept, but we didn't know quite how to execute it, and we were framing in characters kind of roughly. Second season we learned what didn't work the first season and learned from our mistakes. We learned, okay, this is a show where this group needs to be mobile. You need to feel like they're constantly being chased or the threat is always at the door. This is not a show that works well during the day. We should shoot more at night. This is a show that we shouldn't be afraid of showing these characters wet, dirty. Like, certain textual things work well, certain relationships work well. And the third season, I felt like we knew who we were. We knew the world we were inhabiting. All that work had been done. Now we get to open the onion and play with mythology a little bit. But still being grounded in the characters we've established. So I'm very excited to see where we can go next year, because now it's really starting to get fun.
You mentioned being on the run. You kind of sound like Charleston now. Do you want to see them get discovered and then move and have the whole camp have to move again?
I think the idea is that there's certain practical necessities. You need to have a sound stage that you can go to every once in a while, and we didn't have that for the first 2 years.
No, we didn't.
We occupied a high school for a few shows, and that felt too staged. That felt too repetitive. So the pilgrimage to Charleston was a great hook for the second season because it kept the group on the move. And then being in Charleston last year, I thought it worked because Charleston was under attack and we had a lot of mission-based shows where we left. But now we're out. Now we're gone.
I think underneath everything while we were in Charleston, I think a lot of us, a lot of characters, and a lot of us as people wanted to get out of this sedentary situation.
Get up from behind the desk, get back on the horse.
Office scenes. I mean, come on. You don't do this show to be in an office. You know, it's not procedural. You gotta get out of those offices, like war room. This is about, you gotta have some action, some physicality, you know. Horseback rides,
I just want to say,
motorcycle rides.
we shot episode 2. He got to do a battle scene where his guys are off there shooting their guns at some enemies. They shot more ammunition that night than we shot the entire first 2 seasons.
Now, that wasn't
just to
my
tell you how much like he was excited to go. No, it's not. He shot like 500,000 rounds.
No.
Say that.
That's a long story.
You guys on the show, one of the great things I love about the narrative is you bring in aliens, truly alien creatures into the mix, yet you show how human they are, really, how especially with the new character. Can you talk to that, how the University of the Human Spirit, how you as actors bring that and then showcase it with these creatures?
There was a great scene, one of my favorites. Doug Jones, first of all, is a wonderful addition to this ensemble. And what he's done with the character of Cochise, which could have just been, it was a really strong possibility that that character wouldn't work. And we were all really nervous about giving it so much to do in the first couple episodes because we didn't know if it was going to play or not. And as soon as Doug started to give his performance, we all took a big sigh of relief because we saw that this is an actor who is going to be able to convey through 18 layers of latex very subtle emotion and even humor, but a lot of very human characteristics, which I think helped that storytelling. What I was going to say is he has a monologue, episode 4, and we go and meet the president where he talks about this flower from his home planet, which is the reason why he's been fighting. He's never seen it, he probably never will see it, but there's a chance that his children's children might be able to return to their homeland and see this flower that he's heard about. And it was a very moving speech. And then he says something at the very end where he turns to the president and he says, "You gentlemen have no idea how fortunate you are to fight on your home soil. It's a luxury that you should never take for granted." And for some reason, that gave, I get chills just thinking about that. That to me showed this sort of universal dynamic about what home is, what's important, what people get sentimental about family, all these things.
There's a fight with the aliens, obviously, going on, but might there be a fight with the factions now that the other president, the real president, would say is gone?
It's possible. Well,
would they play in your
practical necessities are we can't afford spaceships and aliens every episode, so we try to build in a bottle show or 2 a season where we focus on interpersonal conflict. That's a strong possibility where we might go.
Would they blame your group for it?
Not all humans are going to get along, and we have a history of not getting along. So that's
Is there any particular plot line from up there? Any particular plot line that you want to see happen for your character that has not happened yet on the show?
I'd like us to have a drinking scene where we get really drunk.
We've had a few drinking scenes.
We haven't gotten
drunk yet.
I
There
think
was a
it'll be.
patch where like 4 episodes in a
We were
row where
drinking
we're
a
like,
lot.
we're like, well, we're sorry we lost him.
But somebody kept interrupting us and we'd hide it. So we never got it.
Both Will and I like the horses.
Yeah.
We like the horses. We like horses.
No, what's it like for you having Gloria Rubin come on this season?
Oh, it was great. It was great. Gloria and I were obviously old friends, and it's really nice when you can have a guest star come in and do a turn. And usually they're very well written for, but I thought the last couple of years we've really stepped up the pedigree of the people we've had come on the show. And whether it's Gloria or Stephen Collins or Robert Sean Leonard, it makes a big difference. It's a boost to our morale to have another player that we can play with, and it just adds to the texture of the show. And I thought she was terrific.
She's got a lot of soul.
Are there any other ER alumni you'd like to work with on the show? Or?
I told LaSalle to get ready. That he might get the call.
One last fashion question, because it's passion mine. You have played some of these characters visually, from the Librarian series. Have you brought any of that past experience visually narrative to this character? Especially since you've changed so
You said
much.
fashion was the question?
Yeah, well, just the visual tool.
Well, I changed it up a little bit this season because I get this promotion to being the President of the United States, and we've been in Charleston for a while, which meant I didn't have to wear the same clothes I've been wearing for the last 2 years. And yet I didn't want to lose those clothes because I felt like those were really significant parts of the character. There was something about this show that always reminded me of a Western, now that we have horses and stuff. I talked to the costume designer over the hiatus, and I sent her a bunch of pictures. I sent her pictures of Andrew Jackson and Thomas Jefferson and the character that of Seth Bullock on Deadwood and Al Swearingen on Deadwood. I said, I want to have a kind of a Western look. So we just sort of played with the costume a little bit to layer it in a way that every season I'm adding something to the wardrobe. And every season I actually add a new part of the scar on my head. It's like time is passing and yet it's still with you all the time, everywhere you go. That answers your question.
It does, thank you.
I wanted to ask you, I noticed you've been in so many different kinds of entertainment. You've done audiobooks, you've done movies, you've done television. Do you have a particular favorite, and what is playing the role that you do on Fallen Skies? How does that add to your incredible career?
I like where we are. The school that we're exploring. I like certain people I'm working with a great deal, and I find this character very interesting in terms of certain things about myself that I'm interested in, that I can explore in this very intense way. If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
You ever have a preference though between movies, TV, books?
Oh, is that? Anything that I can get excited about and feel inspired about, it can come from anywhere. As you know, sometimes you're having a conversation, maybe it's something that you can hook onto.
Absolutely. It certainly shows.
Yeah, good.
Good job.
Yeah.